time! Let's get ready to go and learn how to build muscle and improve exercise performance in all natural ways, whether it be through the diet or through supplementation. So happy today, guys. I hope you're having a great day. What do we have as our core supplements, per Examine.com at least, for building muscle, improving exercise performance? Well, of course, we know we have nitrates, because everybody knows that. We got nitrates, carbs, protein, and creatine. Those are the top 4 natural supplements and foods, things that come from food for improving exercise performance, boosting that muscle growth totally naturally. It's like a cheat code if you have all 4 of these in the correct amounts. So what kind of things can I find them in? You know, how much should I have? Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll get to you in a second here. I can't see you from here. But what kind of foods are we looking for? Let's talk about nitrates first. So nitrates, they always get a bad rap. You hear of sodium nitrates, right? And you hear processed foods, additives to foods. This is different in the sense that we're getting nitrates from foods like green leafy vegetables and beetroot, right? And what happens with these nitrates is they're converted into nitrites, which are converted into nitric oxide. So nitric oxide is a vasodilator, opens up blood vessels, improves blood flow and the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to all of your tissues, including your brain and your muscles, of course. So this will improve exercise performance. It'll enhance the absorption of nutrients into the muscle. So great thing to couple with protein and other things that we would have, around the time of our workout, right? So what other foods have nitrates in them? Well, aside from beetroot, dark leafy greens, let's give a few examples. Kale, spinach, Swiss chard, arugula, those are all high sources. Things that will boost your nitric oxide, right? That's the big thing here. Not to mention cabbage, cauliflower, things like broccoli, carrots. They're all great. So that's why they say when you eat your veggies, you're going to grow up to be big and strong. Right? Well, you're going to grow to improve your exercise performance and blood flow to all your tissues. Nitrates. That's one on our list. Not in order, but that's one of them. Carbs. We all know we need some carbs, right? And today, everybody's doing the ketogenic diet. Everybody says, I don't want to have too many carbs. Here's the truth. You need to replenish your glycogen stores. One, that's a stored form of glucose, your stored form of energy in your skeletal muscles, at least one stored form, for your next workout, right? So that's really big. It's not directly, making you stronger, but what it is doing is giving you more energy to get stronger, to get some more reps, to work out harder for longer when you don't have oxygen, right? Because we know that carbs go through anaerobic respiration. They can go through either aerobic or anaerobic. But typically, if we don't have enough carbs and we don't have enough oxygen and we're doing high-intensity training, we go from carbs right to protein to break down amino acids. We skip fat. Why? Fat needs oxygen to be burned, right? We need oxygen to burn fat. So, aerobic exercise, things where we're getting a lot of air, maybe some moderate intensity stuff that burns fat at the time. But with the HIIT training, the high intensity stuff, you're not burning as much fat maybe at the moment. You're delving into those glycogen stores, right? Nonstop. You're going through the glucose and creatine, which we'll talk about here in a second. But your resting metabolic rate is going to be higher for the rest of the day. So that with the high intensity training, right? So it kind of pays off on the back end. And that's why we'll burn a ton of fat later on throughout the entire day with high intensity training, even though we're burning carbs for the most part at the time of exercise, right? So interestingly, the spike in insulin that we get from carbs, it improves blood flow and it enhances the effects of nitric oxide, right? So how many carbs should we have? When? After your workout, you're going to have 0.25 to 0.5 grams per pound of body weight. So a quarter to half your body weight in grams. That sounds like a lot. It is a lot. Now, it depends on the intensity of your workout, right? So if you're somebody who, you're kind of doing a bodybuilder workout where you're there and you're just, you're doing a set of bench and then you're taking a bunch of rest and things like that, maybe not as much for you. Maybe you don't need quite as many carbs. Conversely, if you're somebody that's done a crazy amount of HIIT training and drop sets and all that kind of stuff, and you really delved into those glycogen stores and burned through them, or you just ran a marathon, right? You would need a lot more, and a lot more than that 0.25 to 0.5 grams per pound to optimize those stores of glycogen, right? Excuse me. But as a general rule, I think it's pretty safe, 0.25 to 0.5 grams per pound. Go with a quarter of your body weight in grams, and you can always have some more, right? But especially if you're trying to cut a little bit, maybe it would be better to stay on the lower end of that, but still to get ample amounts, quarter of your body weight. What kind of carbs do we want? Well, we want ones with soluble fiber. We don't just want those simple carbs. We don't want those candies and those cakes and things that just, they spike the blood sugar temporarily, and then, we don't get as much benefit on the back end later on and for the next workout. And we end up storing a lot of it as fat, right? Now, if you're going to have simple carbs, I need a drink of water, so hold on a second. You're going to have them before your workout. You're going to have them right before, give you that quick energy. So we want the carbs high in soluble fiber. That includes things like oats, steel-cut oats, sweet potato, brown rice, right? Things like that. This is what we want after, and we're going to always have it with protein, right? After the workout. Probably the most important one on this list, okay? Some other good forms of carbs are those dark leafy greens, are those fruits, right? Those vegetables, they have soluble fiber. So why is that so important to get soluble fiber? Why do you think that's so important? Soluble fiber feeds your gut bacteria. Your gut bacteria not only control your mood, they control much of how things are absorbed, right? That you absorb more nutrition from other food. Conversely, you'll be absorbing less of things that will bind to other nutrients and excrete them, right? So it helps in both ways, and again, intimately related with mood. They call your gut the second brain. You should feed it, whether you like working out or not. Great example of that is soluble fiber feeding your gut bacteria, which then produce short-chain fatty acids like butyric acid or acetic acid, for example. And when we talk about butyric acid or butyrate, it is involved in serotonin regulation in the brain. It's our happy hormone / neurotransmitter, right? So we definitely have to pay attention to getting soluble fiber in general. There are a few ways you can do it. That's how many carbs you should have after you work out. Carbs. We got nitrates, we got carbs. Protein. It's about time. So how much protein can I absorb at one time, Shane? Great question. We're told our whole lives, don't have all this protein, you're not going to absorb it, you're going to excrete it. Here's the truth. Your body's extremely adaptable. And your body will promote the release. Say you have 80 grams of protein in a meal. We'll talk about how much exactly you should have in a day, right? But say you have 80 grams in a meal. I can't absorb 80 grams. What do you think? What's the major function of the stomach? Primary function. Is it digest? No, it's storage. It's storage. What happens is it's going to hold on to it. It promotes the release of CCK, cholecystokinin, from the pancreas, which has many functions, but one of them, that hormone, is to promote the storage of the food, waiting, giving the stomach the chance to hold on to it and wait to release these contents until the body needs it, until the body wants to absorb more. So you're not going to have all 80 grams, for example. I say 80 because in a study that, when I was reading, it was proven that they absorbed all 80 grams, right? They had it in a meal, right? Quick. So, it's bullshit. You can absorb only 20 at a time, only have 20. Load up on the protein. It's better off gotten in the form of food. If you're going to have it as a supplement, I would definitely go with BCAAs, branched chain amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Of course, amino acids are the building blocks, constituents of proteins, right? And why the BCAAs? Well, they are the primary amino acids involved in muscle protein synthesis. So they pretty much go straight to the skeletal muscle. Those are your big bang money makers in terms of supplements regarding protein. Right? We talk about all these protein powders. Honestly, I get a little bloated from protein powder sometimes. Get it through food. Get your BCAAs. Do you need BCAAs? If you've had a ton of protein, well, no. You don't need them. Just like you don't need B vitamins if you get a lot of B vitamins from food, right? If you eat a ton of salmon and eggs and all this good shit, right? So that's what we got. How much protein in a day? Well, Examine says if you're trying to burn fat while putting on some muscle, but you're more kind of on the fat burning side, anywhere from 0.68 to 1.24 grams per pound of body weight. If you're looking, that's 0.68 to 1.24. You can fact check and check out Examine. I believe that's correct. If you are looking to just build a ton of muscle, right? And also burn fat at the same time, you could say, because the more muscle mass you have, the higher your resting metabolic rate is. The higher the metabolic demand is for these muscles you now have, right? They gotta eat. Your body, that's not to say you're gonna burn fat locally. Fat spotting is not a real thing, but it generally, meaning you'll just, you do obliques, you just burn fat here. Like, that's not true, right? We did a whole video on that. But your resting metabolic rate will be higher, and you'll burn a lot more calories throughout the day. Look at The Rock. He feeds his muscles. He's probably eating 8,000 calories a day, something crazy, and he's really cut too, because people can say he's on supplements. Shit ton of hard work. That's what it is, and he must eat a lot. I wouldn't be surprised. He eats 20 eggs for breakfast, right? So, that's the deal. You can get up to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight in protein in a day. That's a lot. You weigh 200 pounds, that's 300 grams of protein in a day. You're like, holy shit, I've never had that much protein in a day. It's especially hard to do if you intermittent fast, right? So you gotta really know what you're looking for. I love fasting. I don't need to get so much bigger. I want to get real strong and cut and feel great and be athletic, So if you're looking for something like that, you're going to eat in a short window of time. We could devote a whole nother video to fasting, but the hormonal effects are what are better with fasting than just calorie restriction, by the way, for burning fat. So the hormonal effects, you'll maintain muscle mass, you produce more growth hormone, testosterone, things like that. It's the difference if you missed that video. But for weight loss, they're equal. Just calorie restriction, eating less, right, and intermittent fasting. But if you want to keep muscle mass, you fast. But about 1.5 grams per pound, not to get too off topic. If you're trying to just build a lot of muscle, you can get up there. It's been shown in studies that these people are having the highest rates of muscle growth with that much. So don't be afraid to get a ton of protein. There we go, for protein. Last but definitely not least, creatine. What is creatine? Well, this amino acid, commonly taken in the form of creatine monohydrate, right, one water, is actually an energy thing. It's not a muscle growth thing. It's not, it leads to muscle growth because you have more energy to push more weight, to do more reps, right? So creatine, actually how it works is we have creatine phosphate. And creatine phosphate, it takes that phosphate and it donates it. It donates it to adenosine diphosphate, ADP. It's also known as, for you biochem people out there, and it was just heard of it. Now we have ATP, triphosphate. It got another third phosphate from creatine monophosphate. Okay, so creatine kinase then will do the opposite. It will extract that phosphate from ATP, we'll put it back on creatine, and we have this go back to ADP. It's reverted to is the ATP. We have this cycle of energy production, right? Everything is cyclic in the body in this regard, and it has to have balance and equilibrium, right? So when we have more creatine, what we're doing is we're having more phosphate to donate from that phosphocreatine. We're having more phosphate to donate to ADP to make more ATP. Just like when we break down glucose, we get more ATP. Just like when we break down fat, we get a ton of ATP at some point. right? And a lot more bang for your buck, energy-wise, if you were curious, 9 kilocalories per gram for fat as opposed to 4 kilocalories per gram for breaking down carbs or protein, right? So creatine is great. How much should I take? And, when? Pretty much doesn't really matter throughout the day, they say. You could take it around the time of the workout, you could take it in the morning, you could take, there are reports of, cramping if you don't have it with food, so you might want to have it with some food. Makes for a great pair with that protein, with the carbs. They do enhance the effects to some degree, apparently, and you're going to have 5 grams a day. 5 grams a day of creatine monohydrate. There's a bunch of other forms. None of them have been proven to have greater efficacy, to provide greater effectiveness than creatine monohydrate. And it's really not that expensive. It's relatively cheap. So 5 grams a day. If you've never taken creatine, how much do you take? Great question. You can creatine load. You can load for anywhere from 7 to 10 days. Generally, they recommend 7 days, anywhere from 20 to 25 grams a day. And you're not going to take, that's a lot, 20 to 25 grams. You're like, holy shit, we were just talking 5 grams. 20 to 25. But that's because you build up those stores of creatine if you're somebody that's never taken it, right? You got to build the stores first, and that'll generally happen about a week in, again, with 20 to 25 grams a day. You're not going to take all 25 at the same time. You're going to take 5, then, a couple hours later, another 5, then another 5 later in the day, and so on, until you hit that 20 to 25 gram mark. But after that week, or 10 days, depends on how intense you work out too, right? Burn through more of it. After that loading phase, if you've never taken creatine, you're going to sit at a sustainable 5 grams per day to sustain those maintain ample creatine stores in the skeletal muscle. So that's what we got for you guys today. It was a lot, I know, very passionate about it. I think it's super cool stuff. I hope it helped. Hope you got something out of it. I really do. That's what this is all about, helping you improve your life. That is the message of When Wellness. It will always be the message of When Wellness, and we do it for free. So we're happy to. Who do we got on here today? Let's say hi to the homies. Oh, the Lord. Chavo, how you doing? Galva Spinoza, that's the longest name I've ever seen on here. The Sharon too, how you doing? Greg, what's going on? Jen from outer space. Alien Jen, how you doing? Jose, what's going on? Or Josie, what's up? They're all diamond. They're all diamond 18. Thanks for hopping on. Jen, hey, appreciate that. Chesty, how you doing? Christy Berger, thank you guys for tuning in. Andre Nascimento, if you have any questions, message me. Finn Fab in Florida, like that. Tim Cook, how you doing? We've seen you on here before. Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate that. Bo Banger, Nick, Bradley, BXTCHY, baby. Nice, bitchy baby. Danny, how you doing? Daniel 24 Sepulveda, what's going on? Ethan Breutman, thank you guys for hopping on. I am 31 years old. That's how old I am. My birthday is July 22nd, if you were curious. Kev T. John, how you doing? Marcus, what's happening, man? Hope you're having a dope day. Esvek. And Marcus, I already said hi to you. Okay, Marcus. Hilarious, man. Thanks, I think. Gusa Vasquez, what's going on? Tim Cook, you guys are great. Hot since 89. What up, Malcolm, the OG? How you doing, brother? Manam Jan, what's happening? Fifth Avenue, Florida. This wife would, thank you. Ron Thuron, we always... Yeah, Tim, you're probably right about that, but you know what? I want you guys to focus on what I'm saying while I'm talking. So that would be ideal. Yes, I do. Andy Challen. We put pictures up all the time.
Khaleesi, what's going on? Thank you very much. Mustang, how you doing? Billy Mick, what's going on? And I hope I have a radio voice. Thank you. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks, night rather, and a day tomorrow. Thank you so much. Happy When Wellness. Go do something great for yourself. What do you say? Good night.